good morning. Welcome along to Good Morning Transfers. Newcastle have made 2 signings already and are hoping to sign 2 more, but will they get a striker and defender over the line? Also this hour, Ralf Rangnick makes a stark admission about Paul Pogba, saying he may be motivated to perform because he wants to leave the club. We'll discuss that story with the panel. Tottenham fans, get in touch. Are you disappointed to hear that you may not sign a player this month? We'll reflect on what Antonio Conte told the media yesterday. Yeah, good morning. Anton Tului, Mark McAdam and Shabana Hearn join me on the panel this morning. There is lots to talk about, but before we bring you the latest transfer news, let's bring you right up to speed with Everton's search for a new manager. We can head to their training ground now and speak to our reporter, Vinny O'Connor. Vinny, good morning to you. There's been quite a few developments, I think it's fair to say, over the last 24 hours. Just bring us up to date on their search for a successor to Rafa Benitez.
Well, for now, we know at least that Duncan Ferguson is in charge for the forthcoming games, as he was ahead of the appointment of Carlo Ancelotti. He's already got the players arriving as well, reporting early, ready to start work once again after preparations got underway really yesterday for that game against Aston Villa at the weekend. Of course, assisting Duncan Ferguson will be Leighton Baines and John Ebrell. That was confirmed by the chairman, Bill Kenwright, who was here at Finch Farm yesterday. Ferguson, as I mentioned, taking training yesterday, and there's a feeling that Duncan Ferguson, certainly the noises that we hear would be that Duncan Ferguson would welcome the opportunity to take charge of Everton at least until the end of the season, and that would certainly buy Everton a little bit of breathing room in terms of getting this decision right now, and of course time to complete that strategic review, which would enable him to get the structure around the new manager right as well. But as for candidates, well, Jose Mourinho, we understood yesterday, was another name being considered by Everton and the ownership. That was quickly dispelled in many ways. Well, not dispelled as such. Certainly the interest was there from Everton. But from Jose Mourinho's end, it came out quite clearly that he wasn't interested in this position at this present time. Frank Lampard and Wayne Rooney remain 2 strong possibilities. We know that the ownership would like to interview Frank Lampard, which would be relatively straightforward at the moment. It's a bit more complicated when it comes to Wayne Rooney, of course, because Everton would have to ask Derby County for permission to speak to him. We also know, though, certainly understand that Wayne Rooney would be interested in the job at Everton. It certainly would be a difficult one to turn down for him, given his ties with the football club as well. Another name being considered is Vitor Pereira. He, of course, was again in the running for the Everton manager's job ahead of the appointment of Carlo Ancelotti as well. And we also know that the board would like to bring back Roberto Martinez. The Belgian FA were approached, but Martinez's contract with the Belgian FA, his commitment with the Belgian FA, is something that he won't go back on at this time. And while he would welcome the opportunity to come back to Goodison Park, it looks like that one's pretty far away from being anywhere near to getting done, that one. So while the search continues, Duncan Ferguson, we know, will be in charge. It'll be Duncan Ferguson, of course, responsible now to try and restore that Bear Pit atmosphere at Goodison Park with Aston Villa and Steven Gerrard, the visitors, on Saturday afternoon.
We love it when we can start a transfer show with a bit of transfer news. You can see it along the bottom of your screen. Former Arsenal defender Carl Jenkinson has joined Melbourne City on a 6-month loan deal from Nottingham Forest. Right, we are going to talk about Newcastle now. It's been a busy month for them. It looks like their hopes of bringing in 2 further players are stalling ever so slightly. Mark, just bring us up to speed. Where are we with Duvan Zapata?
You just know that every single day when Newcastle United fans wake up, they tune into Sky Sports News. Who is next? We've got the money to spend, but can Eddie Howe bring the players in? Like you say, Duvan Zapata is the next one on the conveyor belt, potentially heading to the northeast. He's a striker. Our colleagues in Italy, Sky in Italy, have been reporting that Newcastle are in talks to sign Duvan Zapata from Atalanta. An offer has been rejected for the 30-year-old. It was an initial loan worth just over £4 million, which is €5 million, plus there would be an obligation of €26 million, which works out to around £22 million, should they stay in the Premier League this season. Now, this bit's a little bit funny because there's a translation of the words from Italian. A deal is impossible to realise with those figures. What I think that basically means is not yet. We want a bit more money, and then we might have a deal.
Our resident translator. Thank you, Mark.
Google Translate over there.
Yeah. Anton, what can you tell us about the player? Is he a player that Newcastle fans would like to see join their team? Would he fit in well?
Absolutely. Chris Wood's only been at the club for a week, and Newcastle are already looking for an upgrade. And Duvan Zapata is an upgrade based on his last 4 years, really. Zapata is an excellent striker. He went to Italy early in his career, struggled at Napoli, but look what he's done at Atalanta over the last 3.5 seasons. He exploded under Gianluigi Gasparini. Look at that. He got 23 goals, followed by 18 goals, followed by 15 goals. Each of those seasons, Atalanta finished third in each of those seasons. And this season, he scored 9 goals and 3 goals. That's just in Serie A. In Champions League, he's also got 3 goals this season as well. Absolutely pivotal to the way that he plays. He can play as a target man, but also he's fantastic around the box. He's not just that sort of big number 9. Unselfish, proven goal scorer with Champions League experience. Newcastle fans can get excited.
Yeah, I mean, striker has to be their focus. I mean, at the end of the day, they get goals, they get up the table, and they avoid the relegation battle as well. And the Premier League side have made an informal offer for Hugo Ekitike, but fallen short of Rams's 30 million valuation, with talks continuing between the two clubs. So it seems to be that money is always going to be the talking point at the moment, and getting the right figure. Newcastle conceded 43 goals in 20 Premier League games. Goals. That'll be the top of Eddie Howe's list at the moment. Strength and depth is required. I mean, they've got so many games coming up. So yeah, arguably they need that striker, the right striker, to just bolster out that squad.
Yeah, and you mentioned how many goals Newcastle have conceded. It's fair to say they probably need to strengthen in defence then as well. Let's move on to their pursuit of a defender. Mark, Sevilla's Diego Carlos, the man that we're keeping an eye on.
Yes, the latest on this strong, physical centre-back, a player that can play out from the back. He's comfortable on the ball. He loves to defend. He's one of the old-school defenders. I was quite intrigued, actually, to listen to some of Tim Vickery's comments, who is our South American football expert. Whatever he says, you take as gospel, because he knows his stuff inside out. And he actually mentioned he's probably not quite as good as people think he is, which might come as a little cause for concern for some Newcastle fans. But what do we know about him? He's a great player with a lot of experience under his belt, which is something Newcastle definitely need at the moment. The very latest, though, and this is where it gets a little bit interesting with this one, is that he has told Sevilla he wants to leave. He's handed in a transfer request to the manager and the president. So basically what he's saying to Newcastle, what he's saying to the footballing world is, I'm ready to leave Sevilla, I'm ready to move on. And Newcastle, I feel like, is the right next destination for me. So Newcastle fans can get excited because they've clearly got a player that doesn't care too much about relegation. He wants to be a part of that project. He wants to join the football club, and he wants to work under Eddie Howe. But it's that bit, the transfer request. You know, when a player hands in a transfer request, that's almost the last ditch saloon to try and engineer this move. Let's get the wheels greased. Let's try and get something happening here. And it always just gets you intrigued, doesn't it?
You're trying to actually think what they are doing in their own heads. You know, like, am I writing this down? Am I here for a bit of paper here? Is it, a scrap of paper?
An email.
Yeah, the back of a letter. That's it. I mean, how they're going about doing it. And it's brilliant when you look at how transfers have moved on. And there's always, in transfer window, a circulating kind of tweet that pops up of a simpler time. I think we've got it for you here. It was when Jock Stein was in charge of Celtic, and it was his letter to the board and the chairman of Liverpool handing over Kenny Dalglish in 1977. Look at that handwritten letter. Isn't that just a very simple time? 400,000, starting a month from this day. I would like that paid. Thank you very much. All the best. Jock Stein. I mean, it just doesn't happen like that anymore.
That's
I think it's
brilliant.
cute.
It's actually got me thinking about some of those other transfer requests. Can you remember the time back in 2006 when Wigan had just been beaten by Arsenal 4-2 in the last game of the season, and Pascal Chimbonda actually went into the dressing room after the game. You know, the players are all gutted because they've had this brilliant season, but actually ended with the disappointment of losing at home to Arsenal. And he hands in his handwritten transfer request to Paul Jewell, still in his kit, whilst the players are all around him in that dressing room. He said actually afterwards that it's the most regretful thing in his career. But just that image, that vision of him going to the manager was so upset that he didn't even want to see him on the Monday. He just said, go on holiday, we'll sort it out afterwards. Dave Whelan slapped a $6 million price tag on him as well. So, you know, you've got the likes of Carlos Tevez when he was at Manchester City, Fernando Torres when he was at Liverpool and then went to Chelsea. You had Steven Gerrard, who back in 2004 in the summer put in a transfer request via his agent because he was looking at that move to Chelsea that never happened. And of course the big one, Wayne Rooney, from Everton to Manchester United. He put in a transfer request, got his move, and then I think he became a Manchester United legend.
He was all right.
Yeah.
And before you move on, Joe, that's my
I'll read it and I'll get back to you later about that one. All right, thanks, Mark. Just before we move on, I just wanted to touch on the money side of things at Newcastle, because coming back to this deal, or potential deal for Diego Carlos, Sevilla saying they're willing to do business with Newcastle at the right price. And I just wonder how much Newcastle is the factor here, because our club's looking at it and thinking, you know, they've got a pretty big budget, we can get more money out of them. And if it was perhaps another club, they wouldn't be holding out for so much money, I wonder.
Yeah, and Sevilla have got one of the best sporting directors in Europe, in Monchi. Their business model is to buy low, sell high. And I don't mean buy low as in like just, you know, sort of a couple of £1 million. They will spend money if they're confident they can develop the player and sell them on for more. Look at that squad now. You've got Jules Koundé, who's been linked with Chelsea for the last, 12 months. They signed him for 23 million, which is a club record, but they're going to get double that when they decide to cash in. And selling Diego Carlos now means they don't need to do that for a little longer as well. Luis Ocampos signed for 13 million. He's in the squad. They could get up to 3 times as much for him. Now Diego Carlos, so they signed for 13 million from Nantes. They're going to get double for him. Not bad for a player that turns 30 next year. And look, Sevilla, 5 points behind Real Madrid with a game in hand at the top of La Liga. But obviously, look, can't go against the business model. If they want to sell, they will sell when the market is at its highest. And they know if Newcastle are interested, they can dictate the terms of the sale. So
you make an excellent point there. And just very quickly before we move on, I was looking through the list of players that Sevilla have actually sold. And Anton, correct me if I'm wrong here, and you know European football inside out, but Bryan Hill, 22 million, went to Spurs.
We'll see. We'll see. Still young.
Wissam Ben Yedder, 36 million to Monaco.
Yeah, they got a good deal there.
Clement Lenglet, 32 million to Barca.
End up being the 4th choice centre-back, so not a good deal for Barca. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Vitolo, 32 million to Atletico Madrid.
Mainly a sub at Atletico. Yeah, they're very good at getting a lot of money for players that hasn't quite worked out.
Which is
so buyer beware.
Buyer beware. From Sevilla, they're very good at selling players.
A little warning there from Anton. Right, there's plenty more to talk about. And we're going to be live to the London Stadium with West Ham fan and musician Governor B next. Plus, we'll also be discussing the future of Paul Pogba. Hi there, welcome back to Good Morning Transfers. It is time to check in with our man Kyle Walker now, who's with Governor B once again. We've seen them in the recording studio. We've also had them on our sofa here in recent weeks. So Kyle, good morning to you. Where are you?
Morning, Joe. Well, as you can see, the crest is on the ground. We've made it to the West Ham Stadium. We're in the dressing room, obviously, of the home players. We've got Governor B here as well to talk about his beloved West Ham. We're here sat in Declan Rice's seat as well. I'm sure, Declan, if you're watching, you won't be too happy about that one. We'll make sure it's clean and tidy for you. Disappointing result at the weekend, that loss that came against Leeds. You were vocal on Twitter, as you always are. What did you make of it?
I think first thing to say is it was a disappointing result, but in the grand scheme of things, we're overachieving. I saw a stat the other day that since the start of last season, if you look at points per game, we're fifth, only behind Man United, Chelsea, City, Liverpool. So we're doing very well, but I think defensively, with Angelo Ogbonna being out, Zuma being out, those are big misses for us. And when you look at where we can improve, if we had like a left-footed centre-half, that could kind of open the game up a bit more, give us more options down the left. That would have helped us out against Leeds. But Leeds were terrific. They were chasing everything, and it just wasn't meant to be. Wasn't meant to be. But some of those players, though, they still did manage to shine. One in particular, I'm sat near his seat. His name is Jared Bowen, just here. How impressed have you been with him this season? I feel like not only West Ham fans have been impressed with him this season. He's been incredible. I saw on Instagram he put up a post apologising for the miss in the last minute, and I was just thinking he has no need to apologise. His goals have carried us through the season. His assists have as well. And like I said last time I was on the show, if he doesn't get an England call up, Gareth Southgate, if you're watching, get him on that plane, man. I mean, you were saying as well, he's got to make everyone's team of the seasons. You were calling me out. He is in there, all right? I'm saying that. He is in there. Another player that I'm sure will be in everyone's team of the season. We talked about him. You sat in his seat. Declan Rice continues to shine, continues to flourish, but surely at some point you're going to have to be fighting off all of these other clubs to keep him here at West Ham. Yeah, naturally. I think his game has improved massively. He was already a fantastic player, but he's moved from just being a defensive midfielder to a guy that carries the team forward. Against Leeds, it wasn't meant to be, but he was incredible. He was driving us forward, and I think if we can match his ambition and move in the right direction, then we should be all right. We want to build a team around him. I'm not delusional. Of course, he's going to attract interest. Of course, you know, he's 23 now, I think he is, and he's going to be wanting to play Champions League football soon. But the way that the club are going is in that direction, and so if we continue in that vein of form, then hopefully we can hang on to him. Fingers crossed. Now, I've strategically placed you here, all right, in Declan Rice's seat, but to your right, just above, there's an empty space there in the changing rooms, all right. Whose name do you think could you see possibly coming into there? Who would you like to see? If you don't want to give a specific name, what about the positions that need strengthening, do you think? It's quite comfy in here. I'd like to see my name up there. I wouldn't mind that. I promised myself I'd stop talking about Jesse Lingard. But I'd love to see Anthony Martial in there. I love what David Moyes did with Lingard last season. Worked with him before at Man U. Came here, revitalised his career. Martial wasn't named in the Man United squad last week. There's a bit of back and forth between him and the manager for the reasons for that. He could want out, and I think West Ham could be a good home for him. We need a striker, and yeah, he's got a bit of star quality that I think we could do with. So yeah, Martial. Now, 2 weeks ago, we were talking about it on the shows that West Ham are linked with Gabriel Barbosa, Brazilian striker. You're talking about needing that forward. Do you think that possibly that is the main area that you need to strengthen? It is the main area we need to strengthen, but we've also signed about 50 strikers since David Gold and Sullivan took over. I think out of those 50, only 21 of them had scored for us. So even though we need a striker, I trust Moyes to just take his time and make the right decision. We're doing all right. We need to strengthen in that area, but it needs to be the right person. Right, we're going to make our way out onto the pitch, all right? And you brought your boots, so he's going to get practicing. He's hoping that David Moyes is actually watching, because who knows, we might see Governor B, his name up there. Guys, it's back to you.
Kyle, Governor B, thank you. We'll look forward to coming back to you a little later. Yeah, so Governor B eyeing up a couple of Manchester United players there, mentioning Jesse Lingard and Anthony Martial. We're going to talk about the future of Anthony Martial shortly. But let's start with Paul Pogba. Some interesting comments made by interim manager Ralf Rangnick, who said that Pogba will be determined to return to form for Manchester United, even if his motivation is to earn a new deal elsewhere.
Yes, of course. I also played Nemanja Matic now in the last games, and he's also his contract is also expiring. By the way, my contract as a manager is also expiring in the summer. So for us, we have the same goal. We have the same ambition to be as successful as we can possibly be in the next 3 or 4 months. So for me, it's not a question if a player has an expiring contract. The question is, how much does he still wants to be part of this group? How much does he still feel emotionally and physically on board? And as long as this is the case, why shouldn't a Paul Pogba now, after 2.5 months of injury, being fully fit again now? And he also wants to show up. He wants to show the fans of Manchester United, the board, the whole world, what kind of player he can be. And even if it's for only to showing up for a new contract elsewhere, I mean, he will be highly motivated to do that. And why shouldn't I then not play him? But as I said, there is a difference of how do players deal with their current situation? How do they handle that? And if they handle that in a professional way, in an ambitious way, of course I can and will play players, although they have a contract expiring in the summer.
Yeah, so, I mean, as Rangnick said, Pogba's United contract expiring this summer. He's not been offered a new deal since last summer, still deciding whether to extend his stay at United. Pogba, of course, returning to training this week after injury. It seems to be one that just rumbles on and on and on. But Rangnick, I mean, it's really, I don't know what another word is to describe it. It's just really interesting. I was going to say honest, but I'm not sure that is the word.
It's the word, I think that it's just very clear. You know, I think the conversations that he's having with the press is the conversations that he's having with the players. You know, we need to talk about Martial as well, but with Paul Pogba, I think that's just interesting hearing him say that. They're out there to the press. I wouldn't say he's not worth keeping, but players need to want to stay and play with the club. So that tells us many things, doesn't it? But it lies with Paul Pogba at the moment, and it's been a saga that's been ongoing for quite some time. A 6-year deal, which was worth 89 million at the time, is up in the summer. He could be leaving on a free, but Rangnick's exactly saying there, well, he's still here and he still has the chance to prove himself. Now, cast your mind back to the first game of the season against Leeds. 4 assists from Paul Pogba. I remember watching the game thinking, oh my goodness, Manchester United are winning the league. At this point, Ronaldo wasn't even there. And then it just quickly went downhill. Of course, at the moment, he's out injured at the moment with his thigh injury, but he's keen to get back to training. And what Ralf Rangnick is saying here is, come back into training, show me what you want. You know, show me the best player in the world, because we know that he can be that player. It's just not consistent enough. And where Manchester United fans, I think, are sitting at the moment is, we need a new dawn. You know, it's time for Pogba to go. Or can he turn it around between now and the end of the season? They would keep him all day.
Yeah, because that's what I found really interesting. It's like, Pogba, come back, play really well, even if it's not to stay here, play really well to get a move away, which I just thought was absolutely incredible for the manager to come out and say.
I love it. I love it, because you have to motivate players in different ways. And do you know what? It doesn't matter what your motivation is if you're going to play well. And he's being honest as well. Look, I'm out of contract at the end of the season. If the club don't want to keep me at the end of it all, even though I've got this consultancy deal, hey, do you know what? I'm a human being. I might want to try and impress somebody else if I get another job.
And I guess his point is he's still going to try. It's not like you stop trying just because my contract's coming.
Absolutely. Everyone's motivated by different things. Some people are motivated by the old-fashioned kind of, badge on the shirt and, the roar of the crowd. Some people see football as a job. Some people get motivated by the money. Some people see it as a job. It doesn't matter. As long as you go out and play well, it doesn't matter. Being a good head coach, being a good manager is knowing how to get the best out of your players. He's not saying anything now that is anti-Paul Pogba. He's just saying, look, it doesn't matter, what the motivation is, as long as we get him back and playing well. And it's the same, he's mentioning other players. It's not just saying Pogba as well. So, it's exactly what you're saying, Shaban. He's being honest, but actually he's actually being positive as well.
Yeah. I mean, the ball is in his court now. It's with Pogba, and you cast your mind back to a year ago now, when Mino Raiola, Paul Pogba's agent, came out and stirred the pot in the press. He's going to be on his way out. At that point, it seemed Paul Pogba wouldn't pull his big boy boots on and go out and play good football, but he did. That game at the start of the season, an outstanding football player, the best in the midfield in the Premier League for that day. Not consistent enough, though.
Yeah, no, plenty to talk about with United, but we are going to move on now. We'll be discussing plenty after the break, including all the latest deals in the WSL, and we've also got news from the EFL. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Good Morning Transfers. Now, only 9 days remain in the WSL transfer window, with a few clubs still intending to sign players before the deadline.
So let's get more now from sports journalist Flo Lloyd-Hughes, who joins us live. Flo, good morning to you. Lovely to have you on. So let's talk about Arsenal. We need to go there first because some transfer business they've had. Stina Blackstenius, Laura Weinrode and Rafael Sousa all coming in the door in the last week. What do you make of the work that Jonas Eidevall's put into this window?
Yeah, it's definitely been impressive, especially with Weinrode and Rafael Sousa, because two defenders, we know that towards the end of last year they were really struggling defensively. And also fitness-wise, with the squad they already had, it's really good news yesterday because Jonas Eidevall said that Leah Williamson is back. She should be in the matchday squad tonight. So that's a huge boost because that's where Arsenal were really struggling defensively towards the end of last year in the Champions League, in the FA Cup and the WSL. We saw them make a lot of defensive errors. So to not only have your sort of starting centre-back back, who's a massive leader within the team, but also add some more defensive players through the window. I think it's been a really good window for Arsenal.
It's interesting, though, isn't it? Because Arsenal sent out Anna Patton up there on loan to Aston Villa. Lots of Wouldbem Moyes, young English centre-back in the squad as well. Signing other centre-backs, what kind of message? That's ruthless, isn't it, from Arsenal?
Yeah, it is ruthless. And those women that you're mentioning there, Lotte and Anna, they're young. They're still gaining their experience. They're at the top club in the country. Arguably, let's say they are for now. Top of the league anyway. And, they're a big part of the England setup as well. So they're rated players. Just at the moment, possibly need more game time and more experience. Anna Patton's certainly getting that at Aston Villa. She made her debut at the weekend as well. And Lotte Wouldem Moyes is highly regarded in the Arsenal team. But defence was an issue. It was clear as day in the last few games. To lose against Birmingham was a problem for them. So it's great that they're starting to strengthen that out, isn't it, Flo?
Yeah, definitely. I'm really intrigued to see how the two new signings get in the WSL, because Arsenal don't have a lot of time. I think they need to figure out their centre-back partnership now. Jen Beattie has struggled this season. Leah Williamson is probably not ready to play a full 90 minutes in the league yet. Maybe she'll come on tonight in the Conti Cup for a few minutes. But I think they'll want to ease her in because they don't want this hamstring issue to become a persistent issue. And they've got some big few games ahead. I mean, they've got the game tonight, quarter-final of the Cup. They've got an FA Cup game on the horizon, obviously a huge game against Man City at the weekend. They've got Chelsea next month, and then they've got the Champions League quarter-finals in March. So they need these players to bed in quite quickly. And it is a big jump when you're moving across the other side of the world in order to play in the WSL. So it'll be really interesting to see how they get on.
Let's talk about Manchester City as well. Flo, they've gone down a different route this week. They've given new contracts to Steph Houghton, Lauren Hemp and Esme Morgan as well. Why do you think they've gone down this route instead of looking out for new players instead?
Well, City had a really busy summer. They spent quite a lot of money in the summer getting Bunny Shaw, Vicky Losada. It was a pretty busy summer for them. So I think probably the January window wasn't going to be a big spending one for them because they already added quite a lot in the summer. And the expectations were quite high as well because of that. And then we all know what happened there and a few injury issues that really dented their title hopes quite early on. I also think City are looking to build something long term, so these contract extensions are massive for them, especially players like Hemp and Morgan, who are certainly exciting players for the future. I do think it's interesting though, last week we had Leah Williamson and Steph Houghton both signing new deals in which both clubs wouldn't specify the length of time, which is not something we've really seen in the WSL before, but those clubs really trying to keep their cards close to their chest with two of their marquee players and leaders within the team. So I thought that was really interesting. Whereas this week, and with the Hemp signing as well a few weeks ago, City have been very sort of transparent with how long the contracts are. So it's interesting to see those other two players. Everything's a little bit more guarded.
City fans, by the way, we're going to speak to Esme Morgan, who signed a new contract yesterday. We're going to speak to her in between the two shows, so just stay tuned to Transfer Talk from midday. We'll hear from her. But City, obviously, on a great run of form. They seem to have turned it around since they've got their players back. As you said, Flo, 2 points off the Champions League places. I mean, basically, from anyone from 6 upwards can get into the Champions League places. It's a tight battle for third. Can you see one of the other teams, maybe Manchester United, spending some money or signing a player who's out of contract to try and make a push for that Champions League place between now and next Friday?
I think they'll need to be honest, because Manchester United were linked to Stina Baxenius. Obviously missed out on her. She's headed to Arsenal, but that would have been huge because I think there's a lot of pressure on Ella Toone to provide goals for Manchester United this season. And with the reports that Alicia Russo was going to link up with Casey Stoney in the NWSL, losing Russo would be huge. She scored at the weekend. She's been massive for them since she's come back to full fitness this season. And Tottenham as well. I think they've shown throughout the whole entire season that they can compete, but they struggle to score more than one goal. I think they've only scored more than one goal once in the entire season. So they need goals too if they're going to stick in and around that third Champions League spot. So I think that's probably why City, despite everything, despite their start to the season and the injury issues, they're probably the club with the best chance of still sneaking into that third spot because they've just got the ammunition. They've got such a big, deep squad, so much firepower that I think they will beat those other two teams to it.
It's going to be a fascinating final 9 days in the window. Thank you very much, Flo, for joining us today. Now, that's the WSL. Mark, you've been chatting to people all across the EFL about, well, who's going to make the deals happen there?
Absolutely. From the WSL to the EFL, we're across all those deals happening in the Football League as well throughout the course of this window. Let's take a look in the Championship first and head to Middlesbrough. They were 14th when Chris Wilder took over in November. They're now in 6th and well in the mix for a playoff spot come the end of the season. They've already been busy so far this month, but is the manager planning to add any more players to his squad? I hit the boss up on WhatsApp. Chrissy, me old pal, what's the latest?
Me old pal, hope you're well. Busy couple of weeks for us in the transfer window. Signings of Flo Balogun and Aaron Connolly on loan from Arsenal and Brighton respectively. 2 loan signings and a permanent in Riley McGree, who was on loan at Birmingham City from Charlotte FC in the States in the MLS. And obviously it's going to be an interesting second part of the window. 13 days to go. Still trying to do a couple of bits and pieces to add to a decent group to go well in the second part of the season. And there's a little bit of interest in a few of our players. So lots to do. And as always, we'll keep you informed. Take care, pal.
Yeah, so Chris Wilder hoping to be busy with 1 or 2 more. Interesting to see what happens with Jed Spence as well in this window because he is a Middlesbrough player. Elsewhere, Sheffield Wednesday are set to sign Preston North End defender Jordan Storey on loan until the end of the season. Staying in League One, and Sunderland have signed experienced Stoke defender Danny Bart on a free transfer. Lincoln City have signed John Marquis from Portsmouth. The striker who scored 28 league goals in 93 appearances has joined for an undisclosed fee. And finally, into League Two, Colchester have signed Awara Edwards on loan from Bristol City, a player I like, as they aim to try and stretch the gap to the teams behind them at the bottom of the Football League. And that is the latest from the EFL.
Mark, thank you very much indeed. We're just going to break away from the transfer news for a moment because Yorkshire County Cricket Club have announced the appointment of Otis Gibson as head coach on a 3-year contract. He'll start work from the end of February 2022, so the end of next month. Gibson will report into the interim managing director of Yorkshire Cricket, Darren Gough. He'll have overall responsibility for the performance and management of the first team, supported by 2 assistant coaches who will be appointed shortly. He joined Yorkshire with a wealth of coaching experience, having previously performed the role of head coach for the West Indies and South Africa, as well as bowling coach for England and Bangladesh. But yeah, Yorkshire County Cricket Club confirming the appointment of Otis Gibson as their new head coach. Right, we are going to return to transfers now. We're going to look at Tottenham now, and comments from head coach Antonio Conte, who yesterday told the media that he doesn't know if they will even sign 1 player this window. He has spoken with chairman Daniel Levy and football director Fabio Paratici. I always get this one wrong because I always say Paratici, but then the emphasis, I was getting it wrong, and now I get it wrong because I overthink it.
You need to do the accent.
Paratici, Fabio Paratici, about his squad's requirements. I'm going to practice that one before the next show. It looks like it's going to be a pretty quiet window for Tottenham. I just wonder, Shaban, how disappointing this will be for Spurs fans to hear that from Conte yesterday. And actually, I'm just looking on Twitter. We said at the top of the show to get in touch, and already a few Spurs fans have done that. Just bring you this one from Jamie. He says, Spurs need to buy in January. If you look at the league table, we're 4 points off West Ham, 5 games in hand, and 11 points off Chelsea. Not backing Conte now can ruin our top 4 hopes.
But he's doing a job, to be fair to him as well, without bringing in new players. So you can see why the board are looking and going, maybe let's hang off another wee bit of time till the summer. But I think Spurs fan will be massively disappointed by this news. I mean, he has said that he's had this meeting with the chairman, Daniel Levy, and Paratici as well. And we're hopeful something will come for Tottenham. We've got 12 days to go. They are a little bit lastminute.com. Of course, they've got that interest in Traore. And they went in for him last summer, 48 hours before the transfer window closed. So perhaps just, letting that, lie a little bit longer. But he would be excellent to bring in. He's a focused wing-back, versatile player. And there's also focus on Jed Spence as well. You'd mentioned this earlier on, Mark. Age 21, currently on loan at Nottingham Forest from Middlesbrough. And he's attracted interest from Arsenal and Leeds as well. So if Spurs want him, they're going to have to strike while the iron's hot.
Well, that's the thing about Jed Spence. And just to pick up there, Shaban, clearly a talented young player, 21 years old. He fits the profile and the remit for what Premier League sides want to do. They want to buy young, develop, mould, and then they've still got that potential resale value later on. So the situation there, a lot of interest. There's been Leeds, there's been Arsenal, there's Tottenham, as you rightly say. A number of other sides in European football as well have looked at the player. He had a fantastic game against Arsenal in the FA Cup, and you know that those cup games are a real opportunity live on TV for players to shine. Jed Spence very much took his opportunity to impress and show people what he's got in the locker room. The big thing about him, though, is he's already played for Middlesbrough and, of course, Nottingham Forest, so playing for a third club in the same season is against the rules. So this would be a club stealing a march on everyone else, getting a deal done before anyone can get the opportunity to buy him. The chances are he'll stay at Nottingham Forest for the rest of this season, but you could potentially get a really, really good player for around maybe 10 million quid, which I know I don't want to be flippant with money, but in football these days, £10 million doesn't get you a lot, but it could get you a really promising defender.
It's not your money.
Yeah.
I can only dream of having that kind of money.
Yeah, but it doesn't answer the problem of, you know, if Spurs fans are crying out for players now, Jed Spence coming in the summer doesn't really help out at the moment. So that is something that they may be frustrated with still. Get in touch. Do please get in touch. #TransferTalk on Twitter. Anton, maybe not too many incomings, but news of potential outgoing.
Yeah, Japhet Tanganga. If we're saying Paratici properly, we should probably say Milan are interested in him, signing him on loan until the end of the season. I was watching Milan play on Monday night. They lost at home to Spezia in the 96th minute with their fourth and fifth choice centre-backs in Pierre Kalulu and Matteo Gabbia playing. So not exactly what they want, considering they are right up there for a title challenge again. You know, going head-to-head with Inter Milan, I mean, that's, you know, that is... Well, the fans just want new centre-back and they are desperate. Japhet Tanganga, they've also been linked with Eric Bailly, haven't they, during this window. And you've got to look at the development of Fikayo Tomori. They signed him last season on loan, did brilliantly, turned it into a permanent deal, and the fans absolutely love him. Tanganga could probably look at that and think, well, if I can't get a game at Tottenham, that's not a bad exit strategy, at least in the short term.
Yeah, indeed. Right, we've got to that time of the morning where it's time to test your knowledge of the January transfer window. A slightly different question for you this morning. This player made 3 moves during the winter transfer window in his career. He played for Marsala, Monza, Nice, Monaco, Manchester United, Juventus, Marseille, and finally West Ham. But the question is, who on earth are we talking about? Make sure you get involved. I can tell you Anton is nodding his head. Tweet us at Sky Sports News. Use that hashtag TransferTalk. We'll reveal the answer when we come back. Hi there, welcome back. You're watching Good Morning Transfers. Before the break, we asked you which player had this career path. Started out at Marsala before moves to Monza, Nice, Monaco, Manchester United, Juventus, Marseille and finally West Ham. Did you get it right? Well, the answer was, of course, Patrice Evra. Plenty of you getting in touch using that hashtag Transfer Talk. Special mention to Sam, Ben, Chris, Aram and Mark McAdam, who came in very quickly with the correct answer. But I'm going to give this one to Ben as the winner, getting his tweet in very quickly indeed. He also added, I love this game. We love comments like that. Thank you, Ben. Right, it is time to head back to the London Stadium now and check in again with Kyle Walker and Governor B. Kyle, where have you managed to get access to this time?
Well, we've made our way out of the dressing room. It was lovely and warm, wasn't it, Governor B? And I've brought the Mancunian weather here to East London. We're outside. We're going to jump into the manager's seats right now. It is the management that I want to talk about, Governor B, because actually above them, it's 12 years to the day that the new owners took charge. And it's been a rocky 12 years, some fans would say, but the future looks very, very bright with David Moyes in charge. They're definitely behind him, aren't they?
Yeah, man, they are. And like you say, it's been a 12 years full of ups and downs. Up until the last couple of seasons, my happiest moments as a West Ham fan was in the Championship, you know, winning the playoff finals. I was there in 2005 and 2012. And, you know, the last couple of seasons, what David Moyes has come in and done is nothing short of incredible. And I'm not just talking results, I'm talking about the feel-good factor around the club, the culture from when I go into the training ground and the youth team are buzzing, to the women's team, to the men's team, to the people that work at the club. It's been amazing. Now, it's an incredible stadium. Just being here, you might be able to hear that they're working on it, they're getting the pitch ready, they're keeping it all in shape as well. When the fans are in full voice, we know that West Ham fans, they're very vocal, they're incredible on a match day as well. They've got the full support of the team, of the manager as well. David Moyes has come back in and it feels like he's brought everyone together. He has, and I won't forget, you know, there was a few people on Twitter, right, the season where we weren't allowed in the stadium because of the pandemic. They were saying the only reason West Ham are doing well is because the fans aren't allowed in the stadium. Watch when the fans come back. I've got news for you, yeah? The fans are back. And we're still doing amazingly well, and there's just a great connection between the manager, the fans, the players and the fans. And like I say, I don't really get too upset in the transfer windows because in the grand scheme of things, West Ham we're overachieving, we're doing amazingly. Now there's 12 days left of this transfer window. Do you think that the owners are looking at the squad and thinking, well, how can we improve, how can we strengthen? Do the fans want them to do that? Yeah, the fans do, and I've got to be honest, sometimes I do feel sorry for the owners because I feel like if you look at the history over the last couple of seasons, David Moyes is someone that they back. You know, we brought in Vlasic, we brought in Krul. We spent about, I think it was 30 to 35 million on Nikola Vlasic, so they do want to back him, but if you look at the history of signing players, we haven't always got it right, so I'm okay with taking our time, but I must admit, 12 days left, please, someone. Now, it will be a great 12 days, hopefully. Then you've got the summer transfer window. Then next season, do you think we're going to see more European football? Will it be Champions League football you'll be coming here to watch? I hope so, man. If we can get a couple of players in, if we can maintain our good form, then hopefully it's Champions League football. And the great thing about that is, unlike Manchester City, we'll actually be able to fill our stadium. He had to get that one in there, didn't he? He had to get that. That's not true. That is not true. Right, well, it's been incredible catching up with you. Final question I want to talk about. 2 weeks ago, as I mentioned before, we were rapping, well, you were rapping in your studio. What a response it's been. It all started here on Sky Sports News. It's been incredible 2 weeks, hasn't it? Yeah, it's been amazing. We were able to raise just shy of £2,000 for charity for Isla Caton, who's a West Ham fan. Everyone's got behind the single, and I think it's kind of synonymous of the feel-good factor and the community that is around West Ham Football Club at the moment. Very final question, are West Ham massive? No, we're absolutely massive. Brilliant, guys. Giving it back to you. This guy right here, he puts a smile on my face.
Kyle Governor B puts a smile on our face as well. Thank you so much. Right, I just want to clear up something about Patrice Evra, because I gave credit to Ben for winning, getting his answer in and saying, I love this game because he loves our game. And I do think he loves our game. Obviously, he's referring to Patrice Evra and what he says on his posts on social media. But just, you know, the people getting in touch saying that I'm being an idiot because I didn't know that. I did know that. Ben, we know you love our game, and we know that you know that Patrice Evra loves the game. Just wanted to clear that up before we move on to Christian Erickson. We've only got about a minute, but we want to talk about this because Thomas Frank has been talking about the possibility of Christian Erickson returning to Brentford. Frank coached Erickson when he was in charge of Denmark's youth teams. What did he have to say, Anton?
It's not very often you hear a head coach say that they're flattered to be linked with a player, but that's what Thomas Frank said. Yes, that shows the respect he has for Christian Erickson and how much he wants to help him with his journey back to professional football. He says that he's backing Erickson to handle whatever comeback he feels comfortable making well. And that obviously, yes, they're interested, but lots of other Premier League clubs are interested as well. So it's fascinating, just the goodwill that's clearly within the football community, especially for Thomas Frank that knows Christian Erickson so well.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, we are out of time. Anton, Shaban, Mark, also thank you to Kyle and Governor B for joining us on Good Morning Transfers. And remember, the show returns tomorrow morning from 9 a.m. But if you want more of your transfer fill, we'll be back in a couple of hours' time at midday for much more transfer news. And don't forget, there'll be a full roundup of all of the day's transfer stories at 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock tonight on The Transfer Show. Yeah, plenty on the way. Stay with us on Sky Sports News. It is the football show coming up, just 15 points from their last 11 matches. Rob Watson and his guests will dissect exactly what is going wrong at Chelsea.